Marvel course correct, or is it too late? This week we're talking about all the things Marvel, all the different changes that we've got with the Marvels coming up, the different schedules changing. We're also going to be going over Ant-Man and The Wasp, what we thought about, what our spoilers thoughts were. Also, we are going to be talking about the rumors of when Spider-Man. So let's check it out. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Galaxy Hangout. Today we are doing, like we talked about, all the Marvel stuff. We're talking all the Marvel rumors, everything else. First off, Jonathan, how you feeling?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Loving this new setup.
It turned out much better than I thought it was going to do.
Like, honestly, it looks pretty good. We wanted to change it up because I was tired of seeing us at a kitchen table. It didn't look good.
No.
Let's be honest.
Plus, it's roomier up here. We can kind of face each other without the table kind of shaking or anything. Look at the camera at our nice audience and picture them.
Yeah, exactly. Like the millions of fans.
Yes, the millions. We're being very aspirational here.
Yeah. But we are talking about Marvel today. All the Marvel rumors, the moving, the newest Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. We're going to start out with our spoiler review of Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then we'll dive into what we think of Marvel as a whole. So starting out, let me know what you thought of Ant-Man and the Wasp.
It wasn't a terrible movie. It's not the worst Marvel movie that I have seen before. That, for me, is still kind of a coin flip between the last Thor movie and the last Doctor Strange movie. Those two are at my bottom tier. I thought it was entertaining, but it was not well executed. It had a couple problems, majorly. It had a CGI problem, as we saw with MODOK, and it also had a comedy problem. You can do action comedy well. Guardians proves that. But this one relied so much on the comedy. All the moments where I felt I should be feeling something, I was underwhelmed. The part where the times that I actually did feel intimidated or anything was when Kang was involved. One, because I love that actor. Two, because he did such an excellent job. The majority. Now, we'll talk about that end credit scene later.
Yeah, well, that was the mid, but yeah, we'll talk about that mid for sure. Something I will say about this movie before I really give into my thoughts, it just hit me. There is a massive plot hole in this movie. Massive. Like, it breaks the movie almost.
Which one?
When Scott goes into this quantum realm in Endgame, or at the beginning of Endgame, or at the end of the Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then at the beginning of Endgame, he's there for 5 minutes, and it's like 5 years.
Yes.
They go to the quantum realm for probably 2 days at least.
Yeah. They should have been popping up well into the future.
Way in the future, like years and years and years.
Because Janet Van Dyne went in, and she actually aged. Aged to the point where when she came out, she was much older. She was the same age as her husband. If none of the dynamics didn't work like that, then she would have popped up the same age as she gone in.
Yeah, is it bad to say I don't understand how time works in the quantum realm? Like,
yeah, because you're saying when you go in, because you are right. When he went in, it was like 5 minutes, but in the real world, it was 5 years. So technically, Janet Van Dyne should have aged much slower.
Or no, actually, she should have been much older, much older.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, yeah. Reverse that. She should have been much older than her husband in the actual world.
I think the quantum realm is a great concept, but the problem is they made it a plot device in Endgame. And I think using it as that plot device in Endgame actually messes it up for the rest of it. Because it doesn't fully make sense how time works. That's the bad part about quantum physics in Marvel. It's like, how does it work sometimes?
And you see this with so many different people, so many different franchises, where they make rules and then they break the rules to suit their own ends. like in the world of Harry Potter, there's very set rules of time travel, and then with the Cursed Child and other things, it breaks those rules, especially in these prequel
Oh,
movies.
they love to break every rule I think there was.
Mhm.
But sadly, when it comes to Marvel, this is one issue I think Marvel is having, and we'll dive into our feelings of Marvel as a whole. But starting out with this movie, you have they jump directly into the
Mhm.
quantum realm quick. What, first 10 minutes?
I'd say 10, 15 minutes. One of the major problems that it has is it's supposed to be this Avenger level thing, and it is
Yeah.
to an extent, but it's not paced like one. It's very, very fast, and that can be a good thing on certain times. But this one, I would have liked it to slow down just a little bit.
Yeah, I would have spent more time dealing with Scott and his daughter and
Mm,
reconnecting. And they said something in the trailer that they didn't do in the movie. Was I
mm.
thought Scott was actually going to work with Kang to basically get more time with his daughter. That is never brought up.
Yeah, that's never brought up. Also, it's why did Scott fail? Why did he feel the need to no longer be an Avenger? He's kind of this midway point because his daughter is very disappointed in him throughout the movie. He no longer wants to be the
Is she
hero.
though? That's the thing. I don't even know if, because normally you're right. Normally it's the daughter who's disappointed in her father, but you don't really see that in this movie. You have at the very beginning, they're kind of annoyed with him more over him always talking about being an Avenger and
Mm.
being the little guy in his book and everything else. But that's not really brought up the rest of the movie.
It is very briefly when they meet the rebels, and remember when they meet the
Oh
rebels,
yeah.
he says this is not our problem, and the mind reader in the group says she's very disappointed in you.
Okay. That. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's brought up, but it's does one of the things that I hate the most with certain types of comedy. It's told and not shown.
Yeah, yeah, that's the problem with it. Tell me or show me, don't tell me.
Mm. And like I said, comedy action movies can be done very well. Uh, I, the first Guardians of the Galaxy and its sequels do this very well. They balance the comedy and levity with the seriousness.
Well, something too. I do want us to say this. We actually like the movie. Now, I know we sound like we didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Give your positives real quick because
Okay.
we probably need to do that.
Yeah. Personally, I actually went into this wanting to like it more so because I'd seen the reviews, all the ones seemed terrible, and just the it may be a little bit of a bias of mine whenever a critic says something is terrible, I was like, it's probably pretty good.
So bad, dude. Here's the thing. I even have watched and heard of some of the critics, and I agree sometimes with critics. It's
Mhm.
just I go in with trying to have an
Mm.
open mind where I'll take it with a grain of salt, but then I'll move forward and try and get my own perspective.
Yeah, but positives. I thought the father daughter relationship was cute. Kang was the big takeaway. He was just phenomenal in his role. Um, I thought it was actually entertaining. It was funny. There's certain critiques I have with the type of comedy they're trying to portray in this type of setting, but I went into it and I had a good time. I had fun. It's just the longer it sits with me, it's like the more problems I have with plot devices and other issues. I actually enjoyed Hank Pym because you see this transition with him, like in the first one. He's angry. He won't give anyone his suit. Scott is more of a disposable piece for him. And this one, he's just the laid back grandpa. He's like, give everybody a suit.
Yeah, just have you get a suit, you get a suit, we all get suits.
That was one of the funniest parts. Like, you have your own suit? And this Hank's just like, yeah.
It's. I will say that was really fun about the movie. My problems with the movie though was the Wasp part of Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Mm.
Why in the world was Janet there? I mean, why? She had no real necessity in the plot. Like, none.
The only major thing that was there is her as far as Janet is concerned. Because Janet's motivations...
Yeah, Hope. Or not Janet. It was...
it's Hope and then Janet. Janet is mother, Hope is daughter.
Yep. Hope had not... I wish we had spent more time Hope developing a relationship with her mother, who, if you think about it, should be the cornerstone of the story, because the foundation is Kang kept telling Janet, hey, I will get you back and I will give you your time back with Hope. He never does, like, that's never really brought up except for the flashback, but it's not really developed well.
And we could have even developed that into Hope's aspirations with Scott and his daughter, them kind of becoming this little family unit, and it's kind of glossed over. It's kind of implied, but it's never really shown, because you can see them coming closer as a family unit, but it's just so vague and implied that you don't get the emotions that you would feel from it.
I think one story problem is you are dividing your story between two different groups. You have Scott and his daughter in one group, and then you have Janet, Hope, and Hank Pym in another group. And so you're seeing the quantum realm from two different storylines, and you're having to jump back and forth so much that's you're...
And I'm not really a fan of that, because in the beginning you see them as this unit.
Yeah.
This actual family. She calls him Grandpa Hank.
Yeah.
I read his... she says, I read his books while y'all were in the blip, and he's like, I can't help if people find me inspiring.
That's sadly funny.
And so it would have been cool to see that as a cohesive unit. But we kind of got two separate storylines with only vague overlaps.
Yeah, and the ending is very rushed and feels like the Rise of Skywalker ending.
Yeah.
I don't like that ending. Personally, I would have been more of a fan if it had been more... It would have been smaller and it had been Scott versus Kang in that fight, and that's your groundedness. But because it's this vast, like, armies fighting each other, this rebellion, it gets messy. It gets really messy.
And then you have the ants, which Hank calls... They create these advanced civilizations, technologies, all this, only because a couple of his ants fell into the world.
No, it was a whole ant army. It was a whole army.
It was the whole army, but they fell into the black hole with them, and that became their linchpin. There's a problem in books which is called the Finger of God issue.
Yeah.
Which is at the end, it's like, we did all this work. This is supposed to be us, but yet the author puts this minute detail in the beginning, so at the end it's like the finger of God just coming down from below and fixing things.
Yeah. And is it smart writing or bad writing?
I think it's lazy writing.
Yeah, and that's the problem with this movie. There were so many points where there was lazy writing. And one problem I do have is I don't... Like, Kang was impressive and intimidating, and I really enjoyed his character. I hate they killed him.
Because that was when we get to the mid-credit scene. That Kang that we just fought was the most intimidating. That one in the middle, the more Egyptian type Kang,
yeah,
it felt more like an SNL skit than it did an actual Kang.
Yeah.
You went from feeling fearful of Kang to, what am I watching?
The voice did not work. Voice was really... It was like that gravelly... It was bad. It was just not great because they were so focused on just trying to make differences. But you're right, it felt like an SNL skit.
And that's not his fault. The actor did an amazing job all the way through. I think, like, he did that one, then he did the one from Loki. It's different, but still him. And he did an excellent job with both of those. I think at that mid-credit scene, what probably happened is directors or or
I think it
whoever's
was
involved.
rushed. I think it was a rush
They
mid-credit.
rushed it, and he was told to create as many different variants as possible without actually being able to play with it.
Yeah, and the variants seemed too wild. Like, they didn't feel menacing. It just felt like a...
Because the other ones, they were wild, they were hooping, they were hollering, all that stuff. And then you have the Kang that we met during the entire thing. He was calculating, he was cold, he was precise.
Yeah.
He's the one that just lifts a finger and could kill Scott's daughter.
But let me ask you this. I don't think I asked you your score. What would you give it between 0 to 5 galaxy stars?
You know what? Overall I enjoyed it as far as entertainment quality, but as if I'm gauging this in terms of the Marvel universe and what I want to see going forward, I'm gonna give it like 2.5, 2.5.
2.5. Me and Audrey both gave it 3s. I'll still give it a 3 because I had fun with it. I had a fun time watching it. It doesn't sit as well as I would hope, but it sits better than other movies that we've seen from Marvel recently.
Yeah, like out of everything that's happened, I know this isn't much because the phase has just started. This one's the lower tier of the new phase, but I would still go watch that than most of the movies from the previous phase.
Yeah. Sadly, yeah. But in saying,
because
keep going.
Because while it had its problems, the other ones had just glaring problems, which we will talk about. But last thing on this particular thing I do want to discuss before we move on is the CGI problem.
Yeah, here's the thing. I think this is a problem for Marvel in general, but I do believe for this movie specifically, they are over relying on CGI. Like, you can't always rely on CGI so much. Sometimes practical would be nice. It would give some levity to what you're seeing on screen. Like, the reason why Top Gun Maverick worked so well was because everything was so practical. Yes, you can do some CGI sometimes, like especially if you're in the quantum zone. That, of course, there's going to be CGI, but you still want it to be believable, and there's some realism, and that's why I say go practical. Sometimes Marvel has just relied so much on the CGI; it's not even funny.
Practical also helps the actors get in the headspace. It allows them to kind of feel like it's real for them. And, that translates to better acting. And I would have, personally, MODOK looked better with the metal mask on than when they did the CGI.
That's why they did that. They did the metal mask so that you didn't always have to see the CGI face. Because here's the thing, the CGI face looked bad. I mean, but it looked like MODOK. I mean, that's the thing. It's not like it looked like terrible. It looked like MODOK.
I mean, it did, but it just felt like a cheaper form of CGI with his face in there than what I was kind of hoping for. Plus, the MODOK character it wasn't actually technically the real MODOK, because it was the previous villain, Yellow Jacket, and he got transformed.
I did like that. I actually did. I like the idea of you wanted to bring in MODOK, you want to do it a different way. You want to kind of close up the Ant-Man story by ending it with Yellow Jacket. But my problem with this movie, and I have the same problem with Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, there is no stakes in this movie. The events in this movie happen. The only stakes that happen is Kang dies. But if they'd never showed up to begin with, Kang would still be stuck there and he wasn't going to get out. And so there's no stakes. Nothing. You watch the story, but nothing is moving forward in the universe. There's no impending threat, or there's nothing that changed the lives of the normal person. At the end of Winter Soldier, you find out Hydra was S.H.I.E.L.D. That changes the universe. That continues the TV show, basically. If you skip this movie, you don't skip anything in the TV show, basically.
Yeah.
You don't miss anything.
Same thing with Civil War. Civil War is so practical. It's still one of the best.
So good.
Still one of the best Marvel movies in my opinion. But at the end there, it sets up Infinity War. It sets up Endgame because you have this break. You have this divide between the hero classes.
So, in saying that, that's kind of our spoiler review. We're going to dive into our thoughts on Marvel as a whole, what we think the good things about Marvel right now are, and the bad things we see from Marvel. And I want to actually go through what Phase 4 was, and we can talk about the movie projects and the TV show projects, because honestly, I think the TV show projects from Phase 4 were stronger than the movie projects after re-looking at it.
I'll agree with that, especially some of the earlier TV shows.
All right, so it's the first project was Black Widow. What was your thoughts on Phase 4 Black Widow?
I think Black Widow could have been amazing. I think it actually is a good film, and it's very enjoyable. Still one of the best of the previous phase. My problem with it is the release. They released it after she already died, which kind of made her stakes, her death, inconsequential. If I'm going to rewatch Marvel movies, if I'm going to introduce someone to Marvel movies, I'm going to have them watch that film right after Civil War.
Oh yeah, and the reason I brought that one up first was just because that's kind of how Phase 4 started. It started on a weird note, if you think about it. Phase 4 starting with Black Widow is a really strange movie to start, but then you have Shang-Chi. You weren't the biggest fan. I really enjoy Shang-Chi just because I like the story. It was back to basics. It was the hero story. It was someone reconnecting to his family. I like Shang-Chi. I really did.
I thought it was a fine film.
It's higher on my Phase 4 list.
Oh, as far as Phase 4, I'd give it a 4 out of 5. My problem with it is that once I watch it once, like I tried rewatching it again, played on my phone majority of the time. I mean, it's just one of those that I watch it one and done.
Well, then also you have after that, you have the Eternals. I was not the biggest fan of the Eternals.
No. I thought it had some highlights, like with what was the lead character's name? Icarus.
Icarus.
I thought because I actually do like that actor. I liked him in the film, but the film as a whole was messy. It was unnecessary a lot of times. A lot of its plot devices were never really explained.
It was another movie that felt contained, but it did. Like, it had effects. Like, you had this giant Eternal popping out, or Celestial popping out of the ocean, which they really don't mention much in Marvel. I think they mention it like a couple times in another movie, but they don't really mention it much.
Yeah.
But I've heard rumors that in Phase 5 they will address it more, which I'm hoping they do.
I'm hoping, because if not, the addressing of the Celestials really kind of leaves a bad taste. I mean, the only Celestial that is coming to mind right now that I can think of is Star-Lord's father.
Well, the next is Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. I have problems with this movie. I think Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, it promised too much. It spoiled too much in the trailer. Should never have shown the Illuminati in the trailer. Shouldn't have done that, because you were expecting a different movie.
Yeah. And
the movie was so self-contained that it really does not affect the whole of Marvel in general, honestly. And I personally was not a fan of Wanda. I love Wanda. I love Scarlet Witch. She was treated dirty from Wanda Vision to.
I thought Wanda Vision was one of the best early projects that they did of the TV shows.
Oh yes.
I especially loved where they left off her character, but we went from her grieving mother to being full out murder.
Yeah. And
because even at the end of WandaVision, she still felt guilty. Like when she basically brainwashed all these people, when she realized that, there was still guilt.
Yes, there was still remorse. There was still this idea like I was wrong. And yes, she has the Darkhold at the end of that movie, but you didn't feel like she was reading it just to go get her kids from steal them. No, you literally hear at the end the kids yelling for help, which it leads me to believe the idea was she was going to save her children. That was why she would have done all that. But instead, it was like, no, I'm just going to steal from someone else. It's like, it takes away her character arc from WandaVision. And it takes away a lot. Like, I want to see her come back for sure.
It takes away the complexity that she had.
Yeah.
Like, if we had a universe or a different movie where she was actually trying to save her kids but using violent and extreme means, I think the moral question between Doctor Strange not believing any type of dark magic can be used and her moral complexity would have been a much better movie.
Yes, very much. So then next we have Thor Love and Thunder. That's another, honestly, inconsequential kind of, like, technically it's consequential because Thor ends up with a daughter. So that there is a continuation, like, something happened that mattered. We lost Jane. Jane dies. So there is stakes somewhat. But the movie...
I cannot express how much I hate this movie.
Oh,
I cannot express.
Oh, it's something. It's something.
Like, for me, because it goes against Thor's actual storyline. It makes his end, as far as the end is where it is right now, worthless. Because he went from spoiled prince to Avenger to Savior to finally King, and then he gets at his lowest depths, and instead of rising from those lowest steps of Endgame, he becomes basically a hippie.
Yeah,
and most of the movie relies way too much on its comedy instead of its even the emotional moments. You're so prone to laughing throughout the movie because it's just one joke right after another. That, like, when I was in theaters, when we were in theaters, the whole cancer thing was brought up and people started laughing. It's like, that's not a joke, people.
No,
that's
kind of bad.
That's a serious moment. Don't laugh at that.
Like, you can have comedy within, you can have serious moments within comedy, but I think they kept pushing the joke. But so next, because we can actually, this is the final movie, is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I think this movie was the no. Let me take that back. There was a movie before Doctor Strange and Thor. I don't know why we always forget it, because it is the best one. It's Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah. I think the reason I forget it is because I kind of don't put it with the phase, because it kind of feels like it was right at the end of the other phase, but Endgame was actually the end, not Spider-Man No Way Home.
Well, I mean, Spider-Man No Way Home was after Shang-Chi and Eternals.
Yeah, I forget that because it's such a good movie, because
it feels separated from the rest of it.
It feels grounded. It actually is character-based. You actually feel emotions. Like, I love the first half. It's like normal Avengers movie. Normal Marvel movie. Focus on the characters, everything that happened in the last movie, and then everything hits the fan.
You know what's interesting? It just hit me. You know why Spider-Man No Way Home works so well? Spider-Man starts the movie as one person. He goes through so much pain, so much regret, loses everything. He becomes a different person by the end of the movie. There is a character growth in the character. You do not see that in other characters. In the Thor, there is a bit of a character growth because he has to be a father, but you don't really get to see the growth. He just kind of with a daughter at the end. And then you have...
With Spider-Man, it was similar to with Iron Man or Captain America. You had this growth of a person that they had to change. That there actually were stakes.
Yeah.
Because he lost people. I mean, he even chose to do the more honorable thing. It's like, are my friends' lives better off than I'm not in them? And do I have to make that decision? And it's so reminiscent of the Marvel's Spider-Man game.
Oh, yes. But let me ask you this. Does Scott change by the end of Ant-Man? Is he the same character that you see from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie?
I think he does a reversal to what he was in terms of the Avengers and everything. Because in the beginning of the movie, he becomes lazy, uncaring, maybe about the world. But even that, I'm not really sold on the idea of the movie that Scott's uncaring
Because you're not given enough time. There's not enough time there to see any change.
Yeah, there's not enough time to see any change. Also, the fact is, when you have kids, when you have a family, it's like you want to protect the world and everything. And I understand you have
Your family's first. Your family first.
Your family is first. Your daughter is first. If you're a parent and you say, "Here's a button. This is going to save the world. Here's a button. It's going to save your daughter." I'm pressing the kid button every time.
Well, and then at the same time, there's another, the next movie for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. You do see character growth within Shuri. That's why I really like that movie. The movies that show character growth in characters that aren't self-contained. That's the thing with a lot of the movies that are becoming self-contained. Like, here's this movie. It's connected to the whole world, but it's almost like this side adventure that we're preparing people for the future, but it really, if you don't watch this movie, it doesn't really affect your viewing of the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole.
You know what all these movies, excluding Spider-Man, have in common of the previous phase? They all try these big Avenger-level threats, but they do it in such a way that it feels like phase 1, where it's this self-contained character. Problem is, phase 1 only works when you're starting the universe, not when you already have everything built up.
And also, I don't think they need to be focusing so much on Avenger-level threats every movie. We have got to get back to a grounded.
With Spider-Man, there was 2 threats: his own hubris, and the villains that were very personal to him in other worlds, like Osborn.
So good. Such a good movie. All right, so then you've got the Disney Plus shows. We've got WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, Miss Marvel, Hawkeye, She-Hulk, Moon Knight, and Guardians Holiday Special. Oh, and I Am Groot. That was such a... Did you ever watch that?
You talking about the little shorts?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were cute.
They were just adorable.
I actually enjoyed those.
But of those that you mentioned, what's your favorite?
Of those, I have a couple favorites. Like WandaVision was definitely one of my favorites because of the overall mystery involved. Like, I was waiting
week to week trying to figure out what was happening.
You had that craving.
It was Mephisto. We all know it was Mephisto.
Mephisto.
Every week we were saying it was Mephisto. It was Mephisto. We know it was Mephisto.
But nope, it turned out to be Agnes. And that ending, the whole story is contained. It's contained within her character arc. She's through trauma. You even get what we'll talk about later. The one of the Miss Marvels coming.
Ooh.
And but the show was about her and Vision. It was about her trauma after Endgame. It was about her trying to reconcile, survive, and her creating this broken vision of what she wanted in her head. And then her finally having to come to terms, realize in the end, as like. Plus, the ending was probably one of the creepiest endings because it's like when she actually punishes Agnes, "I banish you to fulfilling this role forever, for all eternity."
So creepy. But in saying that too, I really enjoyed Loki. I think Loki was incredible. I cannot wait for season 2. I think Moon Knight was great. I think the last episode was rushed, but that didn't bother me too bad. I enjoyed the show.
No, I thought Moon Knight was one of the better ones. Especially which episode number was it? I can't think of, but it's the "You Can't Make Me." Hey, you can't make me do it. His split personality when it was finally coming to terms.
Looking at the list, you got WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, Miss Marvel, Hawkeye, She-Hulk, Moon Knight. All of these, I would say, and I'll include Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special because it was on Disney Plus. They're all solid, except for She-Hulk. I think of all the projects, even Hawkeye, which is forgettable, is still better than I would say most of the Phase 4 movies.
Hawkeye, I enjoyed. Like when it comes to Christmas, that was its problem. It was set around Christmas time. That every time it's Christmas, it's like maybe I'll give it a rewatch. But it had good character growth. It had I like the new Black Widow character with the
Yolanda. Yelena.
Yeah.
Wanda, Yelena.
Yelena with and her interactions with Kate Bishop, and their little tit for tat. Like,
I loved it so much.
Keep trying to push the elevator button. Her keep slapping her hand like, no,
No. Stop it. Oh, so see, that's why I would say the TV shows were great. The problem with the TV shows, and I actually think this for Marvel fans, She-Hulk actually ruined the TV shows as a whole for people. It left such a bad taste in so many people's mouth that everyone is looking at the TV shows as such a bad thing. But you go back and look at the Disney Plus shows; they're great.
Yeah, like even Captain America: Winter Soldier. First, it took a couple episodes for me to kind
Falcon Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Falcon Winter Soldier, and but it took a minute for me to get involved in it. But once it started to develop, like I thought the ending for that one was one of the better of the TV shows.
Oh yes, that's why I say
it's like, especially for me, because I know a lot of people had sympathy for the villain there. It's like I just disliked her from the beginning. So when she finally got the comeuppance, and personally I thought there was way too much hate on the Captain America replacement, because I thought he served his purpose. He's what he was meant to be. Captain America was meant to be the good man. He was meant to be the perfect soldier.
Yep, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the fact that there was such a complexity there. The fact he was the soldier, not just he wasn't a good man. And so,
but he was also a very flawed man, and you felt for him when his partner died, and then the villain said that his life didn't matter. It's like, all right, Captain America lookalike, killer.
That was, oh my goodness. But that's why I say the Disney Plus shows to me were solid. And we're about to get some very solid ones this year with Secret Invasion, and also we're going to be getting Loki Season 2. But I think the problem with Marvel is, one, for the movies, they let the directors control too much of the story, and it wasn't a overall plan. They had too much control. Their styles bled through everything, so it almost was overpowering.
Like Doctor Strange, you felt the director's influence within the movie, and it's like, I thought he did a good job with the first Spider-Man movies. But this one with Doctor Strange and the world that it's created, it just felt
too Raimi. It was just too Raimi. So also one problem too was with just the route that they're going with these. I mean, we saw it with She-Hulk too. She-Hulk, the creators were completely in control of the story, and they went after fans.
Yeah, that was my problem. Staying as neutral as can about this. She-Hulk forgot who its audience was. It became the director's baby, their views, their political conduct, everything about it was that and them. They forgot comic material. They forgot who the fans were. They forgot character development. They had the same problem. Even if you were a fan up until the end, I don't know a single person that liked that ending.
I've seen, there's been some that if you like that show, it all depends on the ending. Because I know a few that actually really enjoyed it, and I really believe it's on that ending.
Because to me, that ending represents what I said earlier, the finger of God thing, where she can just go in there, fix everything, and be like, this is how it should be done. You need to listen to me, master creator of the universe. And it's like, okay, then what has all your struggle during this TV series been for?
Exactly. And so then, and it also messes up the MCU in general, because it's like, well, if you could stop that, you could have stopped a lot of other things. The fourth wall break doesn't work as well for She-Hulk. It's fine for small things, but her actually going to the writers and actually talking to Kevin, I think that went a little farther than it should have, and I get the joke.
It's a little on the
a little on the nose, and it kind of breaks so many things for the MCU in general.
Like, here's the thing. You can do fourth wall breaking and it'd be good. Deadpool.
Deadpool
is the prime example. But he doesn't change anything.
No.
He doesn't create a new world. I would have been fine with the fourth wall break and her talking to the audience. It's cool. But when Deadpool does it, it's in self-jest. He's like, he's referring to actors by their names. Which Professor X are we talking about? Stewart or
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 I can't remember.
starts with an M.
McAvoy.
McAvoy.
Yep.
That's it.
But that's why I say you're seeing a mess with Marvel, because I think there's been, for one thing, and I blame Bob Chapek on this, who was once over Disney. He pushed for so many projects, and there was so much that was pushed out all at once, and too many TV shows. There was too many movies coming out, or not. There were. I wouldn't say there were too many movies. I just think there was too many TV shows.
TV shows were back to back within a span of like a couple months
or even a few weeks,
or even sometimes a few weeks. And it's like, I actually think a majority of the TV shows in the beginning were good.
Yeah.
But they did it with such frequency. I saw one person say this, and I couldn't agree more. Marvel made it a content issue instead of an art issue.
Well, that's where Chapek came in. That's where Chapek comes in to be blamed. Chapek's whole goal was content. Let's get content out there. Let's get it out there. And so now that Iger is back, which I think Feige is jumping up and down, because I don't think he liked Chapek that much, but I think Feige's coming in, or Iger's coming in and saying, no, we're going to focus on the creativity. We're going to make creators more in control again, not just get the content out there.
Yeah, I think Feige liked it more when it was an art form and not so much a... What Chapek did is he reminded everyone Marvel's a business.
Yeah, it reminded everyone Disney was a business. Yeah, that was bad.
Because it's supposed to be this experience, not... Once you remind people it's a business, and Chapek, way too many middlemen. Way too many. Where they got to control what they wanted and their own opinions, their own beliefs, their own this. And it's like, that's not how this works. We need to be cohesive with what we think.
Yes. But that's why I say Chapek, I'm happy he's gone. I just am. I'm hoping Iger can come in. And you're already seeing changes. You
saw those massive firings.
Oh, massive firings. And you also see that Disney or Marvel pushed out the Marvels to November, which, thinking about it, of course they would. They were planning 4 movies this year.
Yeah, that's way too much. I think 3 is your max.
Yeah. Originally, they were going to have Blade in November. I was trying to figure out why there wasn't a Marvel movie in November that they moved the Marvels to. It's because Blade got pushed to next year.
Which I'm actually very excited for.
I'm worried for Blade. There's been so much drama around that. They're basically having to remake the movie.
Yeah, I am worried for it, but...
the director left.
But personally, all those decisions and everything were made under the previous phase. So I think a lot of this drama could be just the movie cleaning itself up.
Oh, it's going to have to. I'm hoping this gives Feige more time to start getting his hands in the dirt a little bit more. Like trying his hand. He was the puppet master. A lot of his strings got cut, it seemed like, in Phase 4.
Yeah, and I think Iger needs to put him back as the puppet master. And Iger's not going to be here forever. I mean, he's technically just here to clean up the mess.
He's gone in 2 years.
Yeah, so I think he needs to find a suitable replacement, someone that he actually trusts, not just someone who is the upcoming star. Like
unless he makes Feige head.
I actually would not be opposed to that.
I think, well, from what I'm hearing is people think that Feige might go Star Wars because he might be a more Star Wars fan than even a Marvel fan. But I just think that now that you're seeing the shakeups, now you're seeing the changes, I think you're going to see good things come out of that. I think the moving the projects is a smart move. I think having 3 close together was probably not a smart move when you don't have anything November. You need to have the Marvel movies throughout the year in certain spots, not too many around each other, but not so far out that it could be like half a year to a full year before you see another one.
Like, there needs 3 at the max, like I said. And they need to be spaced out far enough that people can talk about them. They can have their feels like, here's the theory, here's this, here's that, and then we get the new one.
Wow.
Um,
And saying that, the next thing I want to talk about is there is a rumor that Spider-Man is going to be leading Kang Dynasty. And I'm kind of curious your thoughts. What do you think of maybe Spider-Man leading Kang Dynasty?
I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but it does leave me a little confused because prior to No Way Home, we had Spider-Man basically set up as the Iron Man figure, and No Way Home actually did the opposite of what you and I talk about, deconstruction. Instead of deconstructing the character to taking away all their bare essentials, kind of like uh, some comics and everything do. Superman taking away uh, that truth, justice, the American way, the idealized superhero that is not actually faulty.
Yeah.
Or like Spider-Man, the comics where he's this flawed individual. They actually built him back up.
they built him up, tore him down, but made him a better a more rounded character, someone who is having to make the right choice.
Yeah.
But where I think this story is going, and I think I know if the rumors are true and if Spider-Man is leading this, then I think they're taking a page out of the House of M storyline. Remember in that House of M, Wolverine is going through and reminding people of what's the true history, their true history, basically. I think they're going to put Spider-Man in that role. I think Kang is going to change the timeline, change the universe where he's in control. No one remembers anything except for Spider-Man because of his spider sense. There's going to be some reason why he can remember. And he's going to have to go to each person, each Avenger, and remind them of who they are so that they can get the Avengers back together to fight Kang. And so the movie is, and you could see like different Kangs in charge of different areas of the world, and the history of the whole Earth be changed. But Peter Parker's the only one who can remember the history. And they could say it from like Far From Home because of that, the magical spell. It's like he remembers because no one else can remember him. That could work because no one else remembers him. He can go and basically whatever Kang does changes that.
He knows who everybody else is, but no one knows who he is. And I could even see Loki being put into that.
Oh yeah.
Because that is the other scene that was at the end of Ant-Man where we got to see that Loki got the agent.
Oh yes, Loki season 2 is gonna be so good, so good. But that's why I say I think the idea of Spider-Man leading the Avengers, leading this movie, I'm not against it because if you think about it, for character development, right now I would say Spider-Man is the most developed. We've gotten the most movies and other stories around it, and yes, Ant-Man has too, and Thor.
The most developed stories of recently, as far as character development, not taking in any other factors, is Spider-Man and Shuri.
When does he get the Venom suit, you think? Do you think he gets it in Secret Wars, or do you think he gets it before Kang Dynasty?
I think it's going to be set up within Secret Wars, but personally, I would wait till Kang Dynasty.
Well, Secret Wars is after Kang Dynasty.
Okay, so Kang Dynasty, then Secret Wars?
Yeah.
Okay, then I think it'll lean heavily on it in Kang Dynasty. He may lead them and something happen.
I'm hoping Spider-Man 4 comes out before Kang Dynasty, which I think it is. I think it from the rumors I'm hearing, I'm thinking Spider-Man No Way Home or Spider-Man 4 will come out 2025. That's my guess. So not next year, but the next. Give it a 2-year break, then they can bring it out in 2025.
Which he is the most developed. He's becoming a stronger person. He's having to make all the hard choices. He's much more the Spider-Man from the comic books, having to do the thing no one else will.
Yeah, exactly. But in saying that, everyone, thank y'all for sticking around and hanging out with us as we literally rambled about Marvel and everything else. Also, I thought I want to go ahead and go look at our comments from Odin the Giant. I thought She-Hulk was pointless, but I think it was a setup for the World Breaker Hulk. I thought it was too, but then they brought in his son, and
Yeah, that was another thing that was wrong with it. It's like throughout the season, I just hated it with a passion. But despite those feelings that I had towards that, I was like, well, maybe this will set up World War Hulk. I really want to. I return to the Savage Hulk, like in the 2008 movie, or even the original,
or in the Avengers,
or the Avengers when he said the whole. I put the bullet in my mouth and the other guy spat it out.
That darkness.
That darkness that Bruce had, that inner kind of turmoil.
The monster.
But instead we still got Smart Hulk. And we got his son that just...
That CGI was not done. That movie... I hope that they fix the CGI on him.
Yeah, that was all. That goes to the CGI problem, but also that just made it pointless. I'm just not sure why.
It was... Oh, my goodness.
Oh, there were so many problems with that show.
And so then he also said, we want Hulk to smash, not make stuff. Yeah, we want to see Hulk smash. Also, if they mess Blade up, I'm going to be majorly upset. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Especially because they have such a good actor to play Blade.
Mm-hmm.
He was the villain in the first season of Luke Cage.
And tells me that technically those shows are not canon. Like, they are... they're from the multiverse somewhere.
You're going to see other versions of those people in different capacities. But as far as the original, because like the Daredevil that we saw in She-Hulk was not our Daredevil.
But it wasn't too far off. I mean, he was still pretty good. I liked how they handled him.
Yeah, I'm not saying...
That might be the only positive thing I can say about She-Hulk.
Yeah, but and again in Hawkeye we had a different version of Kingpin.
Okay, so here's one. Spider-Man isn't a leader yet, unless it's Toby. They need Miles Morales for Secret Wars. He played a major role in the comics. I think you're going to get Miles in Spider-Man 4. I think I've heard a rumor that you might see Miles as Peter's roommate, which I kind of hope. I'd like for them to start bringing Miles in.
It sounds like they're leaning heavily on the game version of Marvel's Spider-Man, because that was what happened. And
the thing with Miles is, and I love Miles, and I love Peter, but I do think as time goes on, after Spider-Man 4, at least Spider-Man 5 or 6, I think you need to bring in Miles and get rid of Peter. I think you're going to have to get to that point.
You kill him.
Yeah, you have to do like they did in the Ultimates. And I hate that, because I don't want to lose Peter, but I think you're going to have to. I think after a while, for one thing, Tom Holland's going to want to move on to other projects. He just is.
I mean, same thing with RDJ. He wanted to do the same thing.
And so killing him, I would hate it because I'm a Spider-Man fan. But I think if you build out a good Miles, I think it can work really well.
It'll depend on who you get for Miles. Miles is same with Spider-Man. It all comes down to casting choice.
Well, it's also, he's bringing up that Prowler is already in the MCU as Donald Glover. Yeah, I mean, in the first movie, Spider-Man Homecoming, Donald Glover's character, the one that he webbed to the car, that was Miles Morales' uncle.
Yeah. So they're kind of still going off the into the Spider-Verse idea. And
how it seemed in that movie, he was much younger, but because of that 5-year gap, because Peter was dusted, Miles might not have been dusted, so he might be 5 years older now, and he might be closer to Peter's age now. It actually works pretty perfectly.
Yeah, they could set them up to where they're roommates, or they're friends, and kind of have a mentor thing going on, and then Peter dies, and Miles wants to avenge, or rather take up the role, the mantle of his roommate friend.
Take up the mantle of Spider-Man. But in saying that, everyone, thank you for watching. If you haven't hit that like button already, please hit the like button. We really enjoy doing this kind of stuff and hanging out. We're going to try and do more Monday shows. Let us know what you think of this setup. I'm kind of curious your all's thoughts, because, I mean, if y'all like it, we will keep it this way. If y'all think we should change some stuff up, we will, because, you know me, I I overdo everything and change stuff up every other day. I mean, I got problems.
Much to the annoyance of his wife.
Yep, and friends. Most people. But it was a great show. I love talking about Marvel. We are going to dive more into other stuff. We're trying to grow out the channel. We will start building this community out because y'all deserve a good community, a place where y'all can feel open and feel like y'all can comment and y'all can just let your Marvel geekdom out and just movie geekdom in general. Like, be free to be open how you feel. So everyone hit the like button, comment below what you think, and hit that subscribe. We'll see you later.
See you later.